Well, hello friends, I'm David Vos. Today is August 30th, 2016. Wonderful to see everybody today. Well, I got a story I want to tell you guys. Man, something happened to me last week. I went out to my property, and this here is pictures of my property. And as you can see, it goes a long ways. That entire canyon there, I own that, and it's beautiful. But that is in the heart of a certain area of Texas, sort of the northern central area. It is kind of secluded. Now, I lived in Idaho when I was growing up, and we used to think we were way out in the middle of nowhere, and we were, but I mean, the thing about Idaho is there's a lot of mountains, so you can't really get in there. But it's kind of the same thing here. You got all these canyons and hills, so it's not really all that accessible. But I didn't know when I lived in Idaho that we had all this pristine places down here in Texas. And this has more wildlife than we did in Idaho, I believe, in a lot of ways. So I'm really happy with this property. It's secluded, it's beautiful. There's lots of water. I've got 2 ponds and a small creek. Down through that canyon there's a creek. And there's an actual river a couple of miles from my property, and a large lake with a boat dock and everything. So it's really, really good area. But what surprised me last week, what blew my mind, I mean, I'm finding out all kinds of things about Texas, and basically all kinds of things about this United States of America that we live in. A lot more things that, again, we have not been told. And this may actually be a 2-part video, because I'm going to tell you my experience out there. I met this monster, and I'm going to tell you about this, and I'm going to tell you about that here in just a second. But then I want to really kind of, in the next video, explore the idea of some interesting points about the animals, dinosaurs, where the dinosaurs went, what kind of animals were here before the Europeans came over, and just how big the animals are supposed to be and why they're so small now. Well, they're not all so small. Back in here where you get out from away from the populations, there's some animals in here that would blow your mind. And I'm finding out that a lot of the reasons why we don't have such large animals here in the United States anymore. But we did at one time, friends. But it's population of the cities and stuff coming in. The people are out there hunting them, and the biggest ones they kill. So a lot of the animals that you see in the wild only live in a year or 2. They're really just babies. We never really get to see a lot of these animals grow to their maturity. But anyway, let me tell you the story. Last week I went out there and I was just messing around out there. Took a long walk across my property and was just pretty much surveying the back end of it, in the back 100. And you know, I've got this dog. A lot of you have seen pictures of my dog. I got him a few months ago. He was supposed to be only 4 months old. Well, I've had him about 3 months, so that should make him only about 7 or 8 months old. But boy, he's pretty big. So if he's only 7 months old, he's going to be a big one. But even at his age, if he's only 7 months, I met 2 pit bulls the other day, and I couldn't keep him down. He took after those pit bulls, and he had them both down on the ground about ready to kill them. And he doesn't do that. He's real easy going around people and other things like that. But if anything comes on my property that is an animal or something he thinks don't belong there, he's going to take it. And so if 2 pit bulls come on my property, he's not going to be too happy about it. So I'm not really worried about protection. This dog seems to be able to do the job. He has never backed down from anything. But this day, we were out walking, and all of a sudden, we came up around the bend on this little trail that we got there on this property, and I heard this snorting. It really was more or less like a, and there's the dog. I mean, that was a month or so ago, so he's pretty young there, but he's a little bigger than he actually looks there, but he's really stout. But anyway, we come around this bend, and we heard this snorting, and it sounded to me like a pig, which I had seen a pig about a month or so ago out there near my property, but this was on my property. So I thought, oh my goodness, there's one of these pigs on my property. The last one I saw was a female sow, and she had a bunch of piglets, and she wasn't all that big, and I went over there and looked at the, kind of climbed down to get a closer look because I wanted to see the little piglets. And then I started getting worried. I thought, man, she's going to come after me, and rip my leg off. But to my surprise, this old sow took off running and left her little piglets there for me. And I thought, my goodness, what kind of a mother would leave her little piglets there to be eaten by some predator? Well, anyway, I got some pictures of it, and I went on down the road. Well, today I hear this snorting, and this don't sound like no pig snorting. This sounds like some kind of a rumble, like we was going to have a rumble in the jungle. I'm telling you, I mean, it startled me. This was a real deep bass rumble, but it did sound somewhat like a pig, like one of these boars. Well, my dog, of course, he went over there to investigate, and I kind of stood back thinking, man, that sounds like something I need to be worried about. Well, the dog wasn't scared at this point. He ran right over there, and here come that thing up out of the bushes, just charging my dog. And I thought, oh boy, howdy, my dog's going to eat that pig for dinner. But when he saw that pig, my dog stopped right in his tracks, and I've never seen him do that. He about had a tizzy. I mean, he turned right around the trail and took off with his tail between his legs running. And then I got a real look at this thing coming up out of the bushes. I mean, this is all happening in a split second. I'm telling you, this was the biggest dadgum boar I've ever seen in my life. It had to have been 800 pounds or so. And I'm saying that because I've done some investigation now on this boar situation and finding out just how big these things are. They have reported these boars up to 1,100 pounds. Now, just to give you an idea of how big 1,100 pounds is, I'm going to show you some pictures here in a minute. And it might not have been as big as one of these 1,100 pounder, but it was pretty darn close. It scared the bejesus out of me. I mean, I ran to get a stick because I wasn't going to face that sucker alone, as I don't have any weapons or anything like that, and I don't shoot animals. I'm vegetarian. I'm not usually worried about wild animals. I didn't even know you needed to be worried. And I'm still not worried. I don't think these animals want to hurt nobody. The boar just come up out of there to let my dog and everybody know that he was there and he didn't want us messing around in his little area. And this thing had horns on his... I mean, we all know that pigs have little tusks. I mean, I guess some of us know that, especially people who live in Texas and have seen these things. But boy, howdy, they got some horns and some tusks, just like an elephant, big old tusks. And that's what I want to get to here in this video. This was not just a pig. This was a monster. And I guess they're all over through this area in Texas. They're just these huge monsters. In fact, people report these things all the time, and a lot of scientists or university teachers or whatever come out there like, well, we don't believe this, and then they say, no, ain't no pig in the wild that big. Just as I was going to say, to give you an idea of how big 1,000 pounds is, or 1,100 pounds, a full-grown cow ready for market, a big old cow ready to be butchered, is usually about 1,500 pounds. They can go up to 2,000 pounds for a big cow. So, but the average big cow that's ready to be butchered is about 1,500 pounds. So, can you now imagine a big old sow, or a big old, not a sow, but a big boar, meet you on the trail, about 1,100 pounds? We're talking a cow with short legs. But this isn't just no little pig. When they get that big, they got these horns, these big tusks coming up out of their mouth, and this thing looks mean. And their nose is really elongated, almost to the point where it looks like it's going to form a tusk, and they're going to start becoming an elephant. And I'm going to show you that they are related to the elephants. You know, I always grew up wondering, when as a little boy, I was wondering, well, why don't we have such big animals here in America when they got these huge animals over in Africa and China? You know, elephants are huge. Why don't we have a big animal like that? Well, friends, that's what I'm going to cover in the next video, because we do have some big animals, but we've been fooled. Almost nobody in America understands that we have these big monsters running around through Texas and Georgia and different parts of the Southwest and Southeast. And there's a lot of people that are hunters that know about these things, but the rest of the communities and the cities and the people and the scientists and everything, it seems like they don't understand that we've got some huge animals running around out through the woods. Oh, and by the way, speaking of dinosaurs, we do have dinosaurs, friends. They even, well, dragons. We were talking about how there are no dragons, you know. Well, yeah, there's a dragon on your screen right there. They call them Komodo dragons. That's what they are. They're huge. And looks like that one's eating one of these pigs. But yeah, he's a big feller. And I'm going to show you more of that in the next video. But these boar are enormous. So it's got characteristics of an elephant, with that snout kind of growing out there on the end of that pig. Like if it grew a little longer, that thing would look more like an elephant. And I'm going to show how they're related to the tapirs, which are in Mexico, and they have longer snouts than a pig and look just like elephants, like little small elephants. But these things are definitely related. Even scientifically, the scientists tell you that these pigs are related to elephants, and that's why they got these tusks. They're just smaller elephants, and they will get bigger if they're fed the right diet, and with the selection of the fittest in certain environments, they get very large, as they do in Africa. And these, like I said, these things got teeth. You open up one of these pigs, their mouth, when they open up their mouth, this thing came out of there with his mouth open. I never seen anything like it in my life. It looked to me like, you know, the way the hippopotamuses open their mouth? It's got characteristics of a hippo when it opens its mouth. And these horns, or these tusks, which are also characteristic of elephants, but there are some of these things that got these tusks sticking up, and it almost looks like horns, like a rhino. But these boars have this elongated face and these huge mouths that open wide, and it looks so terrifying and ferocious. You think a monster's just got a hold of you. I mean, it scared my dog right out of his mind, and the guttural grunt that was coming out of this thing. This thing was so huge. I mean, we're talking about 8 feet long. You know, as long as a cow, but not quite as big around as a cow ready for market. But this was a pretty big animal. And you see the pictures here of how big these things get. Now, a pig in captivity can get up to 2,000 pounds. So what I believe is that before we got all the cities and everything polluting the earth and backing the animals, you know, into the corner, and not, well, all the pollution and everything that's going on, it's causing the ground to not produce, and there's a lot less for them to eat. Back in the day, when these pigs were able to eat and there was food for them, they were able to grow much larger. And by the way, you don't want to hit one of these things along the road. No, that's not going to be a good idea. And not only that, but you know that Komodo dragon that you saw? It's like, oh, that don't live over here in America, so see, we don't got those kind of dragons around here. We don't have animals like that. No, America's just got these little piggies running around and little cows and stuff like that. We don't got no dragons. Take a look at this one. Yeah, we do. And Texas, you see, you ever heard the old saying, everything in Texas is bigger? Well, it's true, friends. We got some boar that would blow your mind, and we got some things they call alligators, and they can eat pigs too. So yeah, we do have some pretty darn big animals down here in Texas. I guarantee it. So you can imagine then, this is why here in America we don't have any large animals. And we actually do. I mean, there's the moose, which can grow up to about 2,000 pounds. The buffalo were here in America when the Europeans got here. And the buffalo can go up to about 2,000 pounds. They are huge. You have no idea. The problem is that today our animals are not living very long. They're all being killed. The big ones are being shot and hunted down. So they never really lived to maturity. And the other thing is they're not getting enough food. That's why the pigs and stuff in captivity can become enormous. Even like, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these large, enormous pigs in captivity grow up to about 1,500, 2,000 pounds, but it is frightening. And these animals that lived in the wild before the Europeans got here grew to enormous sizes. They are monsters. But where I live, there's very few people. There's plenty to eat, as you can see in my pictures. There's lots of vegetation. There's berries. I did a video not long ago that, I went and showed you all the things that you can eat. There's berries and grass and foliage, and there's plenty of water. So and not to mention the agriculture that is not far away, and these darn farmers are feeding them, right? They put feeders out there to lure them in so they can kill them. So they don't get very large. But some of these pigs that are able to get back in these remote areas can live longer, and they do grow to enormous size, and they go undetected. That's why they get that size, because nobody knows they're back there, back in the mountains and the hills 50 miles from a town. Nobody ever sees them, and they can grow huge. I think the one that I saw was darn near as big as these ones you're seeing on the screen. It really, really, really was frightening to see this huge monster. And I'm telling you, boy howdy, that was the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. I had no idea that I have these kind of huge monsters living on my property. And so I want to tell you a lot more about all this in the next video, because I want to show you some other animals, and I want to talk about where did the dinosaurs go, and were dinosaurs ever really here? Do they or did they ever exist? What really are these dinosaurs that they're finding? This is going to be really interesting, so check out the other video that I'm going to have posted probably tomorrow. But I'm going to go ahead and post this video now, and I hope you guys have a really great day. This here is David Vos, and I'm going to sign out. You guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.